board cuts, and the state foundation aid reduction numbers are being reduced to us, but at the correct time. The state professional development teacher quality phase 1 and 2 is not being reduced. There's conversation between ISCA, Iowa Association of School Boards, and the governor's office to try to restore the teacher quality portion of that money. So we've been directed at this time not to make cuts to teachers. It would amount to about, across Iowa, it averages about $78 a teacher. And the governor has said that he wants to find that money and preserve that for teachers and not make that cut. And we've been advised to wait until after the session's over to see what happens. Frankly, the worry is that there's some money not spent from the voluntary preschool grants last year that's the target. And if that money is scooped up for teacher quality, and some schools who applied for grants last year didn't get funded, there'll probably be some real heartache somewhere in the state of Iowa over it. So that's been the first initial information, is that some voluntary preschool grant money. There was $15 million allocated the first year. That was all spent. There was $15 million allocated last year, which would have been this current school year's money, and $12 million of that was spent. So what happened, it looks like, is that schools had higher numbers that they projected for preschool than what they actually had entered their schools to be funded for, and so they thought they were funding districts that were going to take the whole $15 million. They took about $12 million. And rather than go back and get the next few schools who would have qualified and say, you know what, we've got enough money to fund you, they hung on to the money. And ISB, when they've spoken to us, the superintendents have said that the governor's office has said that might be a place that they might tap to take care of the teacher quality cut. So who would know what's going to happen? But right now, there's no cut in pay to for teacher quality and a teacher's paycheck at this time. Voluntary preschool grants are due March 30th. We haven't seen the grant. It hasn't been released yet. We have lots of information about it, but here in the next probably 10 days or 2 weeks, that grant will be released. Some information, because we've talked about this a little bit before, and I'm not sure if you read the section of it, but just to make sure, and we might want to talk about it later in the meeting. I did get a reply back from Carol Gritter at the Department of Education, and I asked her about school districts that want to have communication with families that they'd either like to have stay in their public school system, or could we try to convince somebody from Rockwell City Lytton to open enroll to us? And her comment was really simple and it was easy to understand. She said if they live in your district currently and they leave for open enrollment or non-public education, you can do whatever kind of communication you want to that you think is in good taste and sensible and reasonable to do. She said, don't be doing things with kids from Rockwell City Lytton because they're going to close the building. I mean, she said that to me, and I said, oh, well, you know what's happening in Rockwell City Lytton, then, don't you? So she said, don't do that. That's where schools, where she said, I get involved, and then to say that's across the line, as far as sort of professionally or ethically what schools ought to do with each other. But she said, if they live in your district, and every night when they come home from whatever school they do go to, and they sleep at night in your district, then they're yours to communicate with. And she said, you can do what your boards wish you to do with them as far as communication and trying to encourage them to remain in the school district for their education. So I thought that was a pretty clear answer, and to me it made sense about what she was saying. So we can talk about that a little further when we talk about sharing and those sorts of things. But yeah, contact with neighboring districts. A letter has been sent to the school districts listed right there: Orwella, Orville, Arthur, Shaler, Crestland, Newell, Fonda, Rockwell City, Lytton, and Southern Cal. And I had a phone call tonight, just before the board meeting, from a superintendent of one of those districts, and he had actually not shared the letter with his board yet because he hasn't had a board meeting since that time. But just was asking me some questions about the concurrent or dual credit classes and the vocational courses. So both board presidents and I signed the letter, and it was an invitation to conversation. I shared information in the letter about our range of vocational courses, as well as sent him a list of our dual credit, our Iowa Central Community College classes for semester, second semester, what we anticipate adding next year for offering. So I do want you to know I communicated with them. I did not send a letter to the Carroll Public Schools. I sent it to everyone else. And the decision that we made was that probably wasn't a district that we needed to send that to, because DMAC sits right in, and they have an agreement with DMAC and offer courses. So, any comments about that last item?
Was that just pretty much just one-way sharing then?
That would have been the gist of the letter. Okay. It's more about we'd have room at our high school. Yes.
Could we see the letter then sometime?
Yeah, you can see it. In fact, I can make you a copy tonight if you'd like to take a look at it.
With this voluntary preschool grant, and I don't care who feels it, was there ever like a, I mean, it's based on a point system type thing, the people evaluate there's a point system, something like that. Do they give you back your points and tell you where you got to boost it up, and have we looked at boosting that area up?
Absolutely. In fact, we met, Mike and I met for quite a length of time early this fall with a group of people who had worked with some schools. In their capacity, they worked with schools who hadn't gotten grants and had gotten grants. So they're agencies in their communities, in the area communities. And they worked with Rockville City Lytton, for instance, as well as they currently work with us. That's my computer, sorry. And Rockville City Lytton got the grant. So they gave us some pointers and some cues. We did get an actual copy of the Carroll School District grant. The feedback that we get is very, very minimal. I mean, it was like 3 phrases, and that was it for the entire grant. Well, that didn't tell us much, and if you call the Department of Ed, you can't have any conversation. They won't, they're like, we gave you the feedback. And so Iowa Association of School Boards has come out with a huge packet of tools for us to be able to use. If you want this many points, this might be how you consider writing it. So I'd say our best help right now, as we wait to see the grant, is IASB.
So you kind of know the area that needs to be focused on to boost your points up more.
Yeah, like there were certain kinds of meetings, if you have them during the first semester, you get X numbers of points. The second semester, you get other numbers of points. Well, it didn't say that. And we really didn't know.
I'm sorry.
I know. That's how it is. But
one thing that was interesting last year was they said it was based on need, and then Carroll gets it. I don't know how that works.
I'm pretty sure that Carroll will get anything that's out there, because they've got a lot of political pull in the state.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And you know,
I think
it's a matter of losing some of these funds, the possibility to take care of the teachers' salaries. That's all part of the governor's plan to play politics with this thing, because he wants to get reelected. He wants those teachers' votes. And he'll do whatever he can legally do to funnel money toward those people so he gets their votes. So I wouldn't expect too many favors from the governor along those lines.
last thing I have for you is just there's a one sheet, if you would just take it. In the last, maybe it's been 3 board meetings, I tried to include something in each board meeting that was sort of board meeting development. And one of the things we talked about, I met with the 2 board presidents last Friday for a couple hours, and we just worked through some things. One of the things that I think sometimes is hard as a board member for you is that you get complaints from citizens. And this is a board policy, it's a regulation that you have passed related to how do you handle complaints when they come from citizens. And that first paragraph just talks about that the board recognizes that concerns regarding the operation of school are going to happen. So basically the first paragraph describes the fact that when you have an operation, there are going to be complaints occasionally about things that go on.